All right. How are you doing, Michael?
Oh, we already recording?
Oh my God,
I'm
get the cold
doing
open.
good.
Let's go.
I'm doing good, Leanne. How are you?
I'm a little sore today. I just got beat up yesterday, you know.
Leanne is competing in the Winter Olympics.
I am. I'm competing in the Winter Olympics, and oh my God. Yeah, I just flew back in this morning, and so I'm a little tired, you know, just getting back to, you know, time zone's killing me, jet lag and all that.
On this episode of Sips and Clips, we're joined by friend of the pod, Kris Krager, a motion graphics and visual effects artist at Paradise Creative in Los Angeles. A Santa Clarita Valley native, Kris first fell in love with animation through the Disney classics. There's a very good chance you've seen his work on ad campaigns for shows and films you love, including The Muppet Show, The Garfield Movie, Fallout, Bridgerton, Megan, and plenty more. We talk with Kris about his path into the visual arts, his college days playing Catan with me, and how a deep love of donuts somehow made its way into his animated thesis. We also dig into what it's like working as a motion and VFX artist in the commercial space, how he collaborates with editorial, and the key differences in pace and workflow between scripted projects and commercials.
Welcome to this episode of Sips and Clips. My name is Leanne McFalls.
My name is Michael Schusterman.
Today we've got actually, Michael, why don't you introduce our guest?
Yeah, not a very, Leanne cut herself off. She was a very special guest.
Not a very special guest, actually.
No. Well, today on the show we have my close personal friend, Kris Krager.
Thanks for having me.
How do you guys know each other?
Kris and I met because a friend of mine, freshman year of college, the first week of school, was like, hey, do you like Catan? I know this guy who really likes playing Catan. And I was like, dope. And it was like, and he runs a Catan night. Well, it was a board game night every Thursday. Mm-hmm. And so I showed up to play Catan with Kris that one time, and we've never left each other's side since.
I love Catan.
Listen, you want to play competitive Catan,
yes.
You can play competitive Catan with Kris and I.
100%. Anyway, Kris, why don't you introduce yourself? What do you do? If someone were to be like, Kris, what do you do? What would you say?
I would say I'm a motion graphics artist at a ad agency, and we work on social media campaigns, trailers, and some out-of-home like billboards and display ads.
I thought it'd be good to get what?
I forgot that
we're sipping
talk
on.
about what we're sipping on.
Wow, we're all out of sorts today.
We are all out of sorts today.
Leanne hit her head snowboarding, and
oh no,
yeah,
we're actually all ghosts. We're not here.
Oh, am I imagining all of this?
Yep.
This is just this is a dream. This is a dream. Kris, why don't you tell us what you're sipping on because you're our guest?
I'm sipping on a peach apricot smoothie with a little bit of plant protein on it. It's pretty good, a little sweet, but very delicious.
Those smoothies are pretty good. I think I've had that one too, the pear apricot.
One of these days, M Street will just sponsor the show. We'll just do it we should just do it in the dining room area, the dining area.
Yeah.
Let's just do the podcast there.
Just straight up do it there without
anybody
asking.
can sit down.
Yeah. Anybody can sit down.
Yeah.
We just like grab a random person and be
then
like,
we'll
hey, you want to be on this podcast? What
I'm
about you?
Legal aid. And you're like, yeah, but how do you make your dailies? I'm sipping on an almond latte, as always, an iced almond latte.
I am sipping on I was kind of upset. This is the first coffee that I've had this year because of since I was sick, I was kind of nervous to have any kind of coffee that would upset my stomach. So I had originally gotten a sugar cookie latte from Starbucks, but they were out of it. Then I tried to get a caramel brulee latte, and they were also out of it.
I love caramel brulee.
I know. So I went with the cinnamon dolce latte.
Cinnamon dulce. My favorite.
My God, Michael, you... Wage baiting. This is what wage baiting is, people. I had a whole conversation about wage baiting.
You never heard the term rage baiting before?
No, I did. I had a whole conversation with
Leanne's clip farming. She's clip farming. She's
what?
rage baiting. Clip farming.
What is that? I'm not up to date, people. I'm old, okay?
We discuss.
You're not going to explain it to me?
No,
okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
It's when Twitch streamers are like purposefully ass at a video game in order to like farm rage clips that will go viral later.
That's way too complicated for me.
Yeah, so you're clip farming, meaning like you're doing something purposefully stupid in order to get a viral clip that will go.
Kids these days, you youths.
You youths.
I can't handle it. Anyway, let's get into it. Kris, why don't you tell us your story? Where are you from? How'd you get into filmmaking?
I'm from Santa Clarita Valley. So where Six Flags is, or if you've watched Santa Clarita Diet, that's where I grew up. But growing up, my family was like a really big Disney family. So we watched all the old classic Disney movies, the Pixar, and I watched a lot of the behind the scenes for Incredibles, Toy Story, and I saw that they were doing claymations as like a model and a reference. So growing up, I did ceramics, did oil painting classes. Because funny enough, so I was also homeschooled for, I'd say, 5 or so grades, and they had a class where it's like you go to this woman's house and you just oil paint or you do pastels or whatnot.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
This woman was like a teacher, right?
She was a teacher,
It wasn't like
yes.
she's gathering kids to oil paint.
No. But she always played Michael Bublé.
Oh my God. That's a pretty chill, like...
It's chill,
Is that your
but...
sleeper cell activation? Do you put on Michael Bublé
It was like
now?
24/7. She would only play that
wow.
and the same CD. And I'm like, okay, I can't take this. After that, in high school, I did more watercolor, and then I really got more into ceramics there. And then when I was thinking for colleges, my brother was also touring places, so I just went around with him. So it was either Southern California or I go to New York. And I'm like, I don't want to fully uproot and go to New York. So we were looking at places in SoCal.
But you were specifically looking for an animation and VFX school?
Not specifically, but I know I wanted to go to some kind of art school, but I still wanted to have a still college experience where it's not solely art, because CalArts is in Santa Clarita. I could have applied there, but I'm like, I don't want to stay in my same old town. I kind of still want to explore. But the one time I did tour there, I was with my mom, and in the center main hall, they had a, art exhibit of one of their students, like a showcase. And it was like and I was looking at it, I was like, oh, wait, is that? I was like, oh, this is a nude. I was like, wait, what is this? And it was all the nude, like photo, like that she got on dating apps and with the messages that were sent with them.
Wow.
Whoa.
And so it's just a bunch of dudes' junk all over the main
Oh my
hall.
God.
I'm like, oh, I'm with my mom and I'm in high school.
You're like,
This
let's
is
not go
CalArts.
here. We're done. We don't have to go here.
And they're also famous for having a clothing optional pool.
Interesting. Okay.
Good for CalArts.
Yeah, so
I'm glad
they're
having
very
fun.
free-spirited.
So like, I'm going to go to conservative Chapman instead?
So I'm going to go to conservative Chapman.
You just spoiled it. You spoiled it,
Oh,
Michael.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I applied, and then I got accepted to Chapman. I met this guy, Michael, first year.
And so at Chapman, at this point, you were going for, what was your major?
Oh, yes. I was in animation visual effects,
Okay.
but I knew I wanted to still focus on like 3D animation because I knew I was not good at 2D animation. So I focused on 3D animation and then also visual effects. Junior year, I did an internship. Are you familiar with Thumb Wars and like Thumbtanic, those movies?
No.
So Steve Odenkirk, he did the Barnyard movie and the Ginny Neutron movie. Great guy. He did these Thumb War movies as his passion project. He was doing like a new one for like the Star Wars 9, like the new Star Wars. So he was reamping this Thumb Wars project. So I'm like, okay, great.
These are they're like the thumbs are, like the characters are thumbs.
Yes.
Okay.
Characters
And they
are
shoot
thumbs.
close-ups of thumbs.
Yeah.
I'm now thinking of like Spy Kids.
Yeah, imagine that, but like an actual, like it's your
Yes,
actual thumb
yes.
and it's a close-up of a
But
thumb.
that's what I thought of. I was like, oh, the thumb soldiers and like Spy Kids.
Yeah. So I did that because my VFX professor referred me and he got me talking with Steve. So then I started working for him for about like 4 or 5 months.
This was while you were still in college?
This is when I was
Okay.
still in college. My workload at college with my ongoing projects got a little bit too much. So stopped that internship. And then leading into spring of junior year, the pandemic hit. And then mainly my senior year, I was part-time. So I was just mainly focused on my senior thesis. Senior year, I worked at a donut shop. And then freshman year, I was like, oh, okay, I love donuts. And I joked where I was like, oh, okay, each project I'm going to do will have like a donut in it or it'll be donut themed. I'm like, oh, my senior year project will be like a donut shop. And it's like the life cycle of like an animated donut and all this stuff. And turns
really
out,
fun.
Yeah,
That's
so
really
it's like
fun.
So turns out senior year, I was thinking my project was like, wait, what if I make basically an infomercial for a donut shop? Like, oh, our donuts are the best, like high quality ingredients and everything. And then what you're seeing on screen is like a bunch of crusty old robots making your donuts, and they're like putting a bunch of dust, dirt on them when you see it being made. So I'm like, okay, this will be great. So I just did that because I was also working at a donut shop. So I'm like, okay, I knew all about how to make a donut and what goes into it, all this stuff. So that was really fun.
So you do this senior project, senior thesis, and then I guess what's after that?
So because it was COVID, we had a delayed graduation. So it was like a few years after when I was supposed to graduate in 2021. But with one of my senior roommates, he already had a job lined up in LA, and I didn't have a job yet. But I knew if I was going to get a job, it would be somewhere around LA. I wanted to be central. So we moved to Pico Robertson in July of 2021. I was still doing like freelance stuff for about 6 or so months when I first moved to LA. And then in December of 2021, I worked at a tagging studio.
And what's that?
A tagging studio is just any of the behind the scenes pictures that they have on set get sent to the tagging studio. And our job is to label if there's any talent, camera, crew, or if it's just a plain background in the photo, so they can use it for advertising purposes for the show or like the movie.
So that was kind of your first dip into advertising.
Yes. That was my first
How did you get your current job?
I went on a hike with my good friend Ethan Bartley, and then we were chatting, and he mentioned at the ad agency he was at for being an assistant editor that they're looking for motion graphics artists. So sent in my reel, my portfolio, had an interview with head of graphics. That went great. And then I had another interview with the CEO. And then I started in February of 2022. And I remember my first project I did working there was a thing we have called feed breakers, where it's like, looks like a normal Instagram feed. But in the video, it's like, okay, breaking the frame. And then it's like simulating a scroll where it's like elements are popping out, affecting the feed.
And was this were you looking to get into advertising and such, or was it just kind of like, oh, this is a job that I need a job, so I'm going to take it?
I was looking to get into any sort of animation or visual effects based field in tangent to the industry. However,
regardless of what type of project it was, just anything that was.
Yes.
Okay.
I will say, I was looking more towards like an ad agency, animation studio, or like a VFX house, because I had Michael in post and hearing his stories where it's like, I don't know if I can do those long days, and more power to people that can do it. I don't think I could handle it.
Had you done motion graphic works in college prior to this, or was this really your first exposure to motion graphics? And then is most of the motion graphics you're doing 2D or 3D?
Before this job, I think the most I ever gotten was like maybe short title cards, if that. But most of the graphics I was doing in college was like, I was working in Maya and doing fire or like particle effects mainly. Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything with the type of motion, with text.
I guess we should describe what motion graphics are to the audience that doesn't know what they are, because it is an industry.
Yeah,
term.
I was
going
to ask you at this company, what specifically are you doing? You know, you open a project and where do you even start?
We have these things called character cards for, it's like if it's a TV show.
So a lot of what you guys do are TV shows and movies, right?
A lot of TV shows and movies.
Yeah.
So if it's like, say, Bridgerton, so the main actress for motion graphics, we would have their font that they would give us, the client would provide. They would provide the font. They would provide a still image. It's like, here's what we want for this character spot. They would provide any show footage as well that we would need for that. And then they would provide basically all the color codes for their approved colors that they want in the show. So we would use the text, any other effects to brighten up. We call it a cinematograph, basically still image that has moving effects to engage viewers and engage the audience. So the text would animate on, maybe the character would also animate on, or we would add some motion where their clothes would be billowing. We would add some dust effects, some lighting effects. But then other spots, like a usual motion graphic one, is we do dynamic captions, where still the client provided it, and we'd have a script that they would provide. animating the text, adding any effects that they want to it. I think when people think of motion graphics, they think of very corporate, okay, here are our slides, here's a bunch of shapes, which we definitely do some of those. But other motion graphics can be, okay, you just have a border on footage, and you have animating captions, and you have some debris popping out, and some particle effects, and some dust, and like lighting effects to kind of spruce up the spot.
So motion graphics is basically like anything that encapsulates like animated text, animated shapes, animated like transitions, stuff that I guess I'm trying to figure out where does the line cross over from like this task I'm doing as a motion graphics task versus this task I'm doing as a visual effects task.
There's a lot of bleed over and crossover depending on it. So I'd say if I'm like, oh, I am doing a motion graphic piece, that would be anything with captions, shapes, or anything that I don't have to bring in dust, fire.
Any extra elements. Okay.
It's very built in.
It's like additive as opposed to like I'm trying to trick the audience into thinking that this was naturally there or whatever.
Correct. Yes.
Interesting.
There's a bunch of assistant editors and editors at this company you work at. What does your relationship look like with those people? Does an editor come to you and be like, okay, I want the text to animate here, and I want the lower third to look like this, and I want the title card to look like this? Or how much of creative control do you have? Do you have a brief you have to follow? I guess I'm trying to figure out what the relationship between you and the other people who are building the spot initially work.
It mainly depends on the type of project or spot we're doing and what the client wants. So they always send us a ref where even if it's shots animating in or sliding in, they'll have a ref for us where when this frame hits, this should be showing. And they're very particular about that, where it's like, have it showing here for the editorial, have the text pop up at this point for the editorial. So in some aspects, they're like, have this on here, have this on here. But there's other ones where there's no clip, nothing from the movie. It's just pure graphic elements. So it would be me talking with the editor. Do you like the box art being at this height or this size with the text in this font weight and this size? And so it'd be that kind of back and forth. Most of the time, there's a steady stream of communication between the editor and the graphic side. But if it's something like, we need you to color correct this thing or just add a border to this one spot, there's nothing too much to that. Just slap a border on it and then send it out.
It's the more like story points that you need to hit on time. And you're mostly doing that with the editor. You're not discussing with the AE or a post soup or something like that. You're just going straight to the editor.
The main editor, yeah.
What kind of programs are you using for this? Is it Maya strictly, or are you using a variety of programs?
We use Maya sometimes, but it's mainly, we're heavily involved in After Effects, Photoshop, and Illustrator. Those are the three main ones that we use.
And usually the clients that you're working with, are they working in Premiere or are they also Avid?
They're mainly working in Premiere.
So it's like it then becomes an easy like back and forth for you guys.
So even our editors, they're working in Premiere and everything.
So most of these assets, like when you're working for a bunch of the shows you've done over the years, I guess I'm curious, are you just getting like the full final color graded version of the film? Because I mean, you normally start on these campaigns sometimes before the movie's done, right? So I'm like, when you say like we're working in Premiere, I'm like, how are you getting those assets? Who's providing them to you? Are you getting them from, do you know, like do you get them from the DI company? Like who is giving you these cut downs or the whole movie?
It honestly depends. It's mainly just from our connection we have with our client.
Yeah.
Depending on where we're at or how early they want some of these ads to be worked on. So yeah, sometimes we're getting watermarked, uncolor graded footage with like blue screens still in the movie. So we're working with that. We're doing temporary graphics with those. And then depending on how tight they want to keep that footage, we will send it with the uncolor graded watermarked footage. And then they will request time codes from us for the amount, like the time slots we used. And they will send us those shots in particular.
Gotcha.
When you're working with the editor on all of this, are you strictly trying to keep whatever the editor gives you as a ref, or do you have like some creative freedom in being like, yeah, this looks good, but maybe here's like another version?
Usually what the editor gives us, I follow as maybe like a guideline.
Okay.
And they're just like, okay, I want the cut. I want this showing at this point. But if I'm like, this would look really cool if I show this a little bit longer or this a little bit shorter, I'll relay that to the editor saying, this is what I'm thinking. What are you thinking about this? and
Okay.
they'll either approve or it's like, oh, show me what that looks like.
Or they're like, oh my God, that's awful. Don't do that again.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Like, not the show. Not the show to do this. Not the show.
And are you getting like style guides from the studio or whatever, being like everything has to look like this, these colors, these shapes, these whatever, or do you have more flexibility with that as well?
Mainly, most studios give us a giant PDF. Here's our style guide. So
These
we
are the
get
fonts we use.
Yeah, fonts. And specifically if it's for an Amazon project, Amazon has their own style guide, especially with where we can show the Amazon logo, what section we can show the Amazon logo.
Yeah.
So we have safety guides, because the big thing for us where it's like 16:9 footage, have our own safety guides for that. But then when you get into 4:5s, 1:1 aspect ratio, and especially for TikTok and Instagram have their own safety guides. So like where you can have a graphic before it gets cut off by the UI. In TikTok, it's even worse where it's just a small little box on like the left-hand side that you can put any kind of graphic in. So when editors bring us footage and it needs dynamic captions, I'll go back to them and say, hey, you need to move their face because I can't fit, my captions on this. It will just fully cover their face.
Yeah. So you're able to go back to the editor to tell them to like adjust the cut or adjust the framing of something just based off of what you need in order to get what is asked.
Has your company ever done anything like for like a scripted feature? Because I know like there are big motion graphics houses in LA. Do you guys ever do stuff for like a picture mill or, something like that?
Nothing for their actual movie, but we've done like key art and like movie posters for some movies.
Animated, or are they all
just mainly like movie poster they show at the theaters and whatnot.
Oh, wow.
But we have also done, internal cards for trailers. We do some trailer finishing as well. But we all work with like trailers, advertising, nothing of like, oh, we're making a graphic for the movie itself that's going to be in the movie.
When an editor hands you stuff, is the edit like 100% locked, even if it's just for a social post or whatever? Or like, do you have to provide handles? Like, do you have to plan in advance of the edit changing?
So that's the thing. So when we get the edit from the editor, we put our graphic in. Usually these things go through like 3 or 4 rounds of revisions with the client on average. So the edit can very much change. And there has been times where we send something to the client and the client is, oh, I don't like this at all. Fully like restart, try something different, like change the edit. And if the edit does change, then it's okay. If I did any rotoscoping to it or anything, I'll have to do another round of rotoscoping.
Can you just explain what rotoscoping is for people that don't understand?
Basically, rotoscoping is if you don't have a green screen that you can key out and cut out, it's hand drawing around the subject, cutting them out of the frame to then put something behind them or put a new background behind them.
Okay.
There was specifically one for, it was that movie with John Cena and Idris Elba.
Heads of State.
Heads of State, yes. There was one clip where they wanted John Cena's hair to be rotoscoped out, like to be above the border. And it was just really tricky to pull his hair because it was, he has brown hair and it was like on a brown background.
Oh, geez.
So it was really tough to cut that out for the Fallout campaign. We did a lot of stylized Nuka-Cola, like kind of fake ad spots for them. And a lot of those where it's just pure graphics. We usually have a few rounds of revisions on what the client kind of likes, where it's like, ooh, we like this art style. Let's keep going with this direction for the campaign. So definitely the spots where the client just provides, here is our key art, or it's like, here's just a color code with our title treatment. We don't really have anything else for you. Make this graphic, which is great because we have a lot of creative freedom, but it definitely does get tricky where we send something where it's like, here's 5 or 6 key like style frames. Client is like, we like these 2, continue working on these, add these to them. So it is a working relationship with the client with finally getting what they like. And once we settle on the style they like, it's kind of easy going, but getting to that point can be a little tricky.
So I think I veered you away from the original question, which was when the editor, when they do make edits, what you have to do to kind of adjust.
Usually the editors gives us heads or tails, so it's like a couple extra frames of the shot that they need. Just so we have some workaround if we're doing a transition or like a screen fade. And then for usually when the client is like, we want the shot removed, the editor will swap that out. And if there's rotoscoping, we'll update that. But usually the editor will let us know and they'll say, we're swapping these shots out. Let's try this approach to it. this is what the client wants here. Try to add these sorts of elements to it.
You did Thumb Wars, and now you're working in commercials. Do you have a preference between the kind of commercial work you've done and like that experience doing scripted stuff? You've also done other freelance projects and random things here and there. I guess like comparing the two, do you find them they're similar? Do you have one that you prefer? Do you know, like what do you see between the two kind of worlds when it comes to visual effects and motion graphics for that kind of project versus like these much faster turnaround social kind of projects?
I think I prefer some aspects of these kind of fast turnarounds because I do like the fast-paced environment, but I like it in more controlled doses where it's like we have this one spot we need to get out. And if it's a heavy motion graphic piece where we're using a lot of different elements, we're using a lot of different new footage that the editor provides us and a lot of cool, interesting cuts. I really like that aspect where compared to like Thumb Wars where it's like on-set supervision, looking at the green screen, making sure that's all sorted out. And a lot of like rotoscoping, keyframing, color correction. It gets a little boring, and this is more, for me, more creatively stimulating. I feel like with motion graphics, it's like, okay, we're adding a border, we're adding this, we're adding this. It feels more compiling elements, which I like, having more layers and depth to the spot.
Do you guys ever do TV spots or mostly just social?
We do TV spots. There's TV spots that we do every so often, especially for Only Murders in the Building. We were doing some of that. We mainly do TV spots if it's like for Amazon, Hulu, and Universal are big ones. We also do a lot of home video spots as well. So like coming soon to DVD for like, okay, you know, Trolls World Tour. That'll be one where since there's a lot of internal cards and end cards that are just purely graphic based, the editor will slot in like temp graphics, internal card here, end card here, and then they'll put text should come up at this point. We should have the box art appear at this section of the footage. So definitely with the home movie stuff, there's even more back and forth in communication with the editor and graphics for those, because we'll communicate, we'll send to the producer. The producer will then send a client, and the client will come back for any editorial notes, especially because they're like, I don't know, we want, you know, Puss in Boots to show at this point instead. So there'll be a new footage that we'll get from the editor that we'll then need to swap in.
And are you working on most of these spots when you do these motion graphics works? Are you doing most of them alone or are you collaborating with other people?
It depends on how busy we are. Basically, we have a shared After Effects template. Here's how we have our folder structure inside the project. And then here's how we have the project set up on our server. If we make any elements for the project, we pre-render them, put them on the server in case even the editor that wants to use them can pull them. And then we have a plugin list that we all have the same plugins. And if another one gets added, making sure to update that list.
That everyone has it. Are you building your comps out in a specific kind of way that you're like, this thing goes here and this thing goes here so that somebody can open up your comp itself and work on it as well?
A lot of stuff is labeled with the layers where it's like, this is the dust background. This background has this character in it. This background has this character. Along with our finishing, they send audio splits, they send text lists, the editors send the finished spot, and they also send a graphics collect with that batch that gets uploaded to the client. If anyone on the clients open it up, they can easily see this layer has this that it can change. This layer has this text that it can change as well.
Circling to when you're updating these comps for notes and stuff like that, what's a common frustration you find with the way that editors and the people who are in charge of this stuff are communicating with you about giving notes on stuff? What's a good note? What's a bad note? What's a frustrating note? What's a good way to give notes, basically?
I would say the more specific you are of what you need changed, the better. Where some of the notes I've gotten is punch up this piece.
Just means nothing.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what that means. Do you want me to add more effects to it? Do you want me to increase the motion, the speed of this? But a good note I've gotten for one of the spots I did, some of the effects were too bright. So they said, cut the dust by half on this. And then for the dynamic captions I had, they were saying the animation speed and the texture I put on them was blocking from the actual shot that they had. A good one is good verbiage is to dial it back. If someone says, oh, dial it back a little bit, I'm like, okay, yeah, reduce, cut it back. Usually I cut it back by like 30, 40%. A lot of it is just communication at the beginning, because if I don't get heads or tails or extra frames in the beginning. So I'll have to freeze frame some of those. They'll come back as like, we're noticing some like frozen frames at this point. Do you want more heads or tails and stuff? So also asking questions that maybe the motion graphics person doesn't know that they can ask or should ask. A good feedback is like noting what works for the piece and then what doesn't.
I like this element. I like that element. I
Yes.
don't like this element. I don't like that
Yes.
element.
Oh, let's add more elements of this and less elements of this other thing that you're doing.
And it's being very specific about
Yes,
what
and
it
being-
is and why it's not working
Yes.
and what you're looking for.
How is this the same kind of process? I mean, I imagine because you're saying that these things are very similar, but is it the same kind of process for giving notes about visual effects as well? Is it like, I like this dust, I don't like this dust, I like whatever effect this is? Like, it's the more specific about something, the better?
Yes. You know, there's one note I got where it's like, literally they just sent like, oh, I don't like this at all. Okay, do you have an idea of where you want to go? So it's the more specific you can be, the better. Even if, say, for example, you don't like anything in the piece, like, this isn't quite what I'm looking for. I want this and maybe a little bit of what you did here. So sometimes the editor will reference, especially if you've had a working relationship with them, they'll reference a
Previous project.
where it's
yeah.
like, give me more of what you did on this piece or
Yeah.
more elements from this piece.
But I imagine even if you haven't worked with somebody before, like I could probably come to you and be like, here's this title effect from this movie I like. Yeah. I want to do something similar to this or X, Y, and Z. I love working with motion graphics facilities. I'm curious in your experience, whether it's VFX or motion graphics, what's something that people are asking for or have asked for that looks really easy and is hard to do and is like actually a lot more work than people think it is, or vice versa, something that looks really great that you wish more people would do and it because it's so easy to do and it looks great.
A big thing for clients is they'll say it's like same thing with rotoscripting or green screen. It's like, just cut this out. They think it will be so quick and easy. But
To remove an element.
Yeah, just to remove this where it's like, just cut them out of this spot. It's like, okay, that's really, really tough. Because the person they want cut out, it's like they're out of focus. They're like in the background, or they're even going to be cut off in the frame. Half their body is showing and they're blurred. And it's tough to get any data to kind of pull from that to get a good, clean cut or track. And then other times, a big one is color correction. Client will hopefully send us the raw footage so then we can color correct. But other times, the client just gives us already color corrected footage or that has like a LUT or like some grading on it. We're like, can we request the raw footage? And they're like, oh, they don't have that. So we go in, and then sometimes color correction can be like 3-4 hours, depending on how much it varies through a certain cut. It's tough where on a producer side, they know in general the editors and what graphic does, where it's like some color correction I give you, you give me in like 20 minutes, but then other ones you give in like 4 hours. So it's a dialogue between the editors, the producers, and then the graphics. Usually when I get something like that, I kind of warn both where it's like, hey, this is going to take me a bit. This is going to come more end of day because I have other projects, and this color correction is going to take a bit of time.
So you're color correcting yourself? Mm-hmm. You don't have like a colorist on staff or whatever? You're doing it?
No.
You're just doing it like in Lumetri in After Effects?
Sometimes I export to DaVinci.
Oh, do you? You go through a full color pass and result?
Sometimes I do DaVinci, but there's a plugin on After Effects called, I think it's Colorista 5.
Oh, okay.
That just does a good chunk of like automated like base coloring, and then I can just add some curves.
That's so interesting because I feel like coloring is such a like specific thing. I'm surprised that studios are even okay with it not being their final color, that you guys like even Bridgerton has like these very vibrant poppy colors and stuff. I'm surprised that they're not being like, here's the final colored assets, like do everything with this, because it would just, I feel like it would be, and I'd be frustrated to be like looking at if I was cutting something and I saw on my Instagram feed an ad for it, I'm like, that's not what it looked like in the color suite. What the fuck? But I guess like it's an entirely different department. So
especially for reality shows, because we did Vanderpump Villa, we did some color grading for them, and we do try to have it match as closely to the show footage as we can. But there'll be some where it's like they look a little bit red in this shot, fix this, but then it will go back to the footage that they sent us. Where it's like, okay, this already has a LUT on it. We're trying our best here, but
it's kind of baked in.
Right, yeah.
Do you have to watch these shows before you work on them? Or can you just kind of be like, did you watch Vanderpump? Or were you just like, they're like, okay, this is the gist of the show. And you're like, okay, I get it.
For like shows that it's like Vanderpump or like other shows, I'm like, okay, could watch it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have it on like my second monitor as I'm working on it.
Oh, okay. To get the vibe of it.
To get the vibe, especially for if we're doing key art for some of these movies.
We always like to ask people, is there a project? I know you've been at this company for 4 years now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the company called again?
Paradise Creative.
Paradise Creative. We went through a whole podcast
I know, we
episode,
should've
and I don't know
got
if
that
we
at the
even got the company name. Dream project.
We always like
is
to
what
ask
we
people,
like
is
to
there a
ask.
dream project? Is the plan eventually to move into the scripted field, or do you really like the advertising field? What's like your dream for the future? And then what's a project that would be a dream project to work on?
I do enjoy the ad agency world. I did reference that. I was like, okay, I like the fast pace, but sometimes it can be a little bit much if it gets too fast. I'd love to work on like video game cinematic at like, Santa Monica Studios or Riot or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that's still in the cards for the future that I want to pivot to. But then for my favorite projects I've worked on, I didn't know that they would be dream projects of mine, but like the Garfield movie that came out, I did some stuff of that. And I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Amazing, yeah.
Fallout's been really, really cool to work on. And I know probably not a lot of people watch the show, but it's called Bumper in Berlin. It was like a Pitch Perfect spinoff show with this guy called Bumper. Because I haven't seen the Pitch Perfect movies.
I know exactly who it is.
Yeah, it's like a side. It's because his name is Adam Devine.
Yep, Adam Devine.
And at the company, we're like, wait, Adam Levine? It's like, no, Adam Devine. And it's like, who was that? And it was honestly a really cool campaign because we did a lot of cool like neon spots and neon graphics with the editorial, and we did like a big Times Square ad on their big like Jumbotron. And with those where it's a in-world kind of display, the kind of proportions with that get a little crazy where it's like we have to export 30,000 pixels by like 10,000 pixel asset. And it's like, okay, this is going to render for like 6 hours.
Jeez.
Because even with those spots, we work with the editorial because on those Jumbotron, we'll have like a cut in there. They have to like scale up the footage, and we have to put some color correction on it and some sharpen to actually still look good up on those big screens.
There's other stuff too that you mentioned that you did off microphone, where you said you did like banners for NBA games and stuff.
Yeah, so if you see, where the announcer box is on the sidelines,
yeah,
I've done ads for those for like Fallout. You'll see it's like, oh, okay, watch now, animate, and any of the banner strips.
There's just like the weirdest resolutions that like the aspect ratio is 13:1 or whatever.
Jeez.
Yeah, so for some of them it was like 13,000 by like 100 pixels.
Wow, how weird. And then is an editor cutting those, or are those just getting passed off to you to do immediately?
Usually those just get passed off to me. But one of the ones we did for Amazon, it's like their out-of-home spots. So it was this 3-panel spot, I think, at one of their conventions or booths that pop up. And with those where it's like, it would show their key art, it would animate into a cut in a spot. And so the editor for those, they would provide, it looks so weird, they would provide, a 16:9 footage, but then they would have 2 black bars in the middle of the 16, like the cuts that they would make.
Oh, to show the 2 different monitors.
Yeah, to show the 2 different monitors for the reference. So it's like, okay, this would slide on here, but then this would slide on to the 3rd monitor. So that was really fun to work with the editor with that, because it's like, okay, on this monitor, we want to show this, but then on this monitor, have this come in from the
How
second
interesting. One. Totally different way of thinking about all that. Huh. All right, want to get into our final part here?
Yep, let's do it.
Splice and spew.
I am going to splice about snowboarding. If you guys haven't guessed already, I went snowboarding yesterday, and man, I loved it. I missed it. I haven't done it in like a few years because I've been unemployed, but I landed my first 180, and it was very exciting, and that is why I'm so bruised up.
Because Leanne got her ass kicked.
It's not even that I'm sore from doing the actual sport. I'm sore from like going off jumps, trying to land a 180 goofy foot, and then falling on my butt countless of times. We got about 19 runs in. It was a great day. It was beautiful. It was very warm, so like a lot of the snow is melted, but we got some good runs in. My quads are killing me. I've got bruises all over my butt, knees, elbows, everywhere. Neck kind of hurts, but I'm still here. I'm alive. Very tired today, but man, I love this. I wish that I could go. I wish it wasn't so expensive. That's really what it is.
Do you have a lift pass, or do you just go?
I don't have a lift pass because I try to go at least once a year.
Yeah.
But I do have a
That's
board.
not enough to justify a lift pass. I think
exactly.
you have to go, we did the math once. I did it with my buddy Ned. We were looking at how much it costs, and it's like you have to go like 4 or 5 times to at least justify the cost of it. And it's like even just from getting someplace 4 or 5 times from LA is like,
yeah,
that's tricky. I mean, that's like hard.
So I wish that I was able to go more, but at the moment, you know, I just don't have it in my budget. But I do love it. I miss it, and it's a great time.
You want to go, Chris? Do you have one?
My spew was going to be about we need to bring back pictures on menus. Because I went
I agree.
Mike was there for this. We went to a brunch yesterday, and it's like, okay, it was like a Turkish sausage with some eggs and some sourdough. I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. And I get it, and it's like 3 little eggs and like 5 small slices of sausage. And I was like, what is this? Yeah. And it's like this, and it's like, you know, it was like $22. And I was like, I looked to my right, and it's like, oh, huge pancakes, and it's like eggs and fruit and sausage. And I was like, and that was less than mine.
Oh my God.
That was $20. And so I'm like, I ate it. I was like, I'm still like starving.
Pictures on menus. Let's bring them back, people.
I want to, I guess I'll do it. I guess this is what Chris and I were kind of discussing in the car here, but Chris and I have a video game book club where we play a new video game every single month. And this month's game is Resident Evil 4, which is a video game from the early 2000s that I've never played before. I would like to say, I was a certified Resident Evil hater before I went into this because I was like, I don't like horror that much. And all I knew about Resident Evil was that it was like campy horror from like the early 2000s with these terrible string of movies. And I gotta say, I was wrong. Resident Evil 4 fucking slaps. And it's like, I gotta say, so my splice is a bit about Resident Evil 4, but also I miss the days of simple video games when video games were just like, like they were meant to be played, enjoyed, and put away. And man, am I enjoying playing. Like, I did not think I would enjoy it as much, but like we've only had the game selected for the last like 6 or 7 days. And I think basically every single free moment I have picked up my Steam Deck and played it, I've already put like 12 hours into it, which is like crazy for like a 7-day stretch. So banger, 10 out of 10. The new Resident Evil, it's got Leon again, who is the protagonist in 4. That one comes out soon. So now I'm like scrambling to be like, oh my God, I've got like 30 years of video games I got to get caught up on here so that I can play this new one. So folks, if you haven't given Resident Evil a try, I know I'm preaching to the choir of like, it's one of the most popular franchises in the world, but for certified haters like me, damn, Resident Evil 4 is a certified fucking banger. I am really, really enjoying it. And what we're playing the original version, not even the remake. So my plan is to finish this and then immediately go play the remake as well. So Cassidy?
I'll have a very quick splice. Something that has been pissing me off recently is I've been noticing now that I'm in the land of the driving, a lot of people will seem to pull out their phones at red lights. And my God, listen, using the horn is like a traumatic experience for me. I don't like to be aggressive like that. I had to do that twice on my way here. 2 times I had to honk to get someone to move at a green light. So don't play on Instagram while you're driving, please.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Sips and Clips. You can catch us on Instagram at Sips and Clips Pod or email us at sipsandclipspod@gmail.com. And you keep on sipping while we keep on clipping. Bye.
Bye-bye. Sips and Clips is a podcast produced by Leanne McFalls and Michael Schusterman. Logo designed by Mike Knoll. Production sound by Cassidy Lagan. Post-production sound by Zach Griffin. Follow us on Instagram at Sips and Clips Pod or email us at sipsandclipspod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.